13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Not too many times. We've never opened the corn, right? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No.
You're the corn fan. I actually am not a big fan.
Oh, okay. Well, I figured it was a rare opportunity, so I figured let's just go with it.
Oh, God.
There were a couple of
gotta jump on it,
tracks.
Right?
And this has been actually from their first album. This is Sean Olsen by Korn. And yes, thank you for joining us this evening for a brand new episode of Granny's Peach Tea, episode 171. And yeah, we've got some stuff to talk about this week. We got the season finale, hopefully not the series finale of Kite-Man. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
And also our rabbit hole we're falling down here right now with the Crow franchise, which has brought us.
One would argue been pushed down.
This is true. I mean, it's possible. For the Crow City of Angels, the sequel to the classic 1994 Crow, and yeah, we're going to take that journey with you guys. So, yeah, thanks for joining us as always. If you're joining us on the Facebook live stream, if you're joining us on YouTube or wherever you found your audio on the podcast, we always appreciate the support. I am Ed, and with me as always is Jason. Jason, what's up? What's going on? How you doing this week?
Yeah, can't complain. Doing all right. Back to school, back to the grind. Bringing education to the kids and all that. We talked about this the other day, so I want to share with anyone who's listening. I did my rewatch of the Batman, Matt Reeves' The Batman. Took me 2 days because I fall asleep in the middle of everything. It has nothing to do with the movie. It was just late. But I've come to this conclusion because I liked it a lot when I first saw it, but I think I was going in with like, okay, another Batman movie. Let's see. And I'm a real big Chris Nolan fan, but I'm going to say that it's not my favorite Batman movie. I would probably still rank it my third favorite, for nostalgia and stuff, but it might be the best made Batman movie, and we were discussing this in text. I think the only thing that comes close is The Dark Knight, and I think I don't think one is better than the other. I think it's neck and neck. But man, I really did not appreciate how good this movie was when I first saw it, which is why a second watch is always a good idea.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've seen this movie quite a few times at this point. It's whenever I click around and it's on HBO. I do find myself, I start watching it, and sometimes when it's on later at night, and if I catch myself watching it, I have to turn it off because I'm not going to stop watching it. And I need to go to sleep at some point. So I do have to click it off. Yeah, I found it interesting in a little inside baseball for our group text with Rick. I think I know I had this up there when we did our rankings in our episode with the Batman. I still would hold The Dark Knight at number one. This one had me between 2 and 3 because I really love Batman Begins. Like, I do love that movie. And
I do too.
It's tough. You know what it is too is that this is what makes the Batman so unique and why I thought it was such a breath of fresh air was it's the first world's greatest detective Batman movie that we've ever really gotten. Like, so they took a different angle.
Yeah.
Well, even though I remember reading the synopsis when Matt Reeves was going to take over the franchise, and I'm like, oh wait, we're taking him back to year one again, and are we doing this again and stuff? And this is more kind of like Batman Year 2, the way he described it. So I mean, it is a little bit different, but it's still like Batman at the beginning of his career, kind of like learning to be Batman.
Right.
So, but they found a way to put a brand new spin on it. The whole thing with the Riddler, and the world that we do see them in and everything like that. So, I thought it was, yeah, it's really up there for me.
And I was just struck how good the Riddler was. And I know I mentioned that when we first watched it, but I was just struck again how good he was. How much it felt like a David Fincher movie, like in the beginning. Like it was kind of like Batman meets Seven, which I'm sure we discussed on the thing, but just seeing that all for the first time, like honestly, it got me really hyped for this Penguin show because as much as I hate to say it, like Colin Farrell's amazing. Like, and he's an amazing character actor. And like to see what he did in this movie, I cannot wait to see that version on the TV.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you were gonna go with any of the characters that we were introduced to in the Batman to get their own like solo project, the Penguin is the perfect choice, or Oswald Cobblepot, really in that one. So, yeah, and Colin Farrell is basically unrecognizable completely, in the role. Like besides the prosthetics and everything like that, like he really transforms himself, and it's pretty astonishing. And I am really excited for this Penguin show that we're going to be getting on Thursday, and I'm super hyped up to talk about it next week after we do see it. And the early reviews have been really like incredible. Like it's getting great reviews, which is also something that kind of like, gets me even more excited for it. Because obviously, if we would have been getting trashed, I mean, we'd be like temper your expectations and going into it. But they're
right.
The expectations are pretty high. So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to see what Colin Farrell does. Like, because I walked away watching that going, I could watch an entire movie about this character, and now I get to watch this show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so yeah, it's pretty exciting stuff. Yeah, we definitely. I know the next two nights we're getting Agatha All Along tomorrow night on Disney Plus. Next night we get the Penguin dropping on Max. So we have a lot, and actually next week too. Before we not just get starting off with like promoting next week's show, Transformers 1 also drops this week. So we have like a boatload of stuff to talk about next week. And it's also like very different stuff. Like Agatha is, witches and magic and in the MCU and stuff like that in a corner we've never seen. And then the Penguin, more of like supposed to be like a crime drama, kind of like Sopranos in the Matt Reeves' Batman world and stuff. And then we get an animated Transformers film, which is also getting like astonishingly like rave reviews. There are people talking that this is the best Transformers movie that's ever been made. Which I'm going to be honest, from the trailers and stuff, I mean, listen, we like 86, right? Like, we like Bumblebee.
Yeah, no, but that's the, but yeah, all right, Bumblebee. I forgot about Bumblebee, but
yeah, we do.
But like,
I like
I'm saying, like
a lot. I don't know.
Yeah, it was all right, but I wouldn't call it phenomenal. Like I could easily see something being better than it.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun with Rise of the Beast, and I was also just happy that we got a full-fledged Transformers movie without Michael Bay attached to it. So I think that's where my expectations going in were. And again, I thought it was a solid film. I'm not saying it was like Bumblebee was the better movie, but yeah, and it's true. Like, not that there's many to beat out, but I didn't know what to expect from Transformers 1. So I'm excited. I'm actually checking it out tomorrow night. So I'm pretty excited to see this thing, man. And I've always had a soft spot for Transformers, so which is why the Bayformers movies pissed me off so much, because I just hate watching him take a dump on such a property that I'm such a huge fan of.
Yeah, same. That's why I hated them so much. That, and I had to watch them.
Well, yeah. And hey, listen, we take the good with the bad, right? The good medicine with the bad medicine on the show, and we'll button the lip right now before we get to our movie of the week. But all right,
yeah.
Well, let's get to it then. Let's jump into Kite-Man Hell yeah. Episode 10, which was the season finale. Jason, what were your thoughts on the way they wrapped this thing up?
I loved it. I thought that it was a great wrap up. It was very on brand for Kite-Man, and it actually, I got to admit, it had it had some moments in it where I was like, you know what, this show is rivals Harley Quinn for me. I think I would put this up there with that, and it's not even Bane. It's actually Kite-Man. So like I'll go through the episode real quick, and then I'll tell you what the moment I'm talking about. But so they pretty much they don't know what to do with the anti-life equation. They're running, right, and Villigan catches them, and I love that I know it's Judith Light because she's cursing left and right, and now I know that that's Judith Light cursing left and right. And she pretty much shows them, she captures them, but shows them like this is what happens in every single scenario I can run except for one, and that's one where Kite-Man reads the anti-life equation. So they give him the briefcase, and they decide to go and strategize, and we find that Noonan's has a basement war room. They go down there, and Kite-Man just starts talking about The Exorcist. And of course, like everyone thinks that that's the plan. He's like, "Oh, in The Exorcist, wasn't that cool when like the priest said, 'Hey, come get me, devil,' and devil got him." And he says, "Ha, I'm jumping on the window, killing myself," and then he did. And everyone's like, "Kite-Man, are you gonna kill yourself?" He goes, "Nah, I just think The Exorcist is cool."
Yes. Oh man, and the irony is, and again with our group text, Rick shared his thoughts on Kite-Man. To me, that is something that Rick would do in this Kite-Man situation here. She would be like, no, I just thought The Exorcist is cool, man. And didn't realize the whole thing was about him, like essentially, sacrificing himself. And I wanted to touch on the thing with Villigan is that also the whole thing where she goes through all the scenarios and there's only one, and it's the one where Kite-Man reads the anti-life equation, is the one where they survive. Did it not make you think of Infinity War a little bit with Doctor Strange?
Of course.
Yeah. Which I'm pretty sure that was the satire thing that was ripping off it.
They were definitely sending that up, and I love Villigan. Like, well, the world is in your capable. Hell no, they're in your hands, Kite-Man.
She's like, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but whatever.
But that was really funny. But then there's the moment. This is the moment I want to bring up, where I feel that this show really has set itself apart from the Harley Quinn show. And we talked a bit about this last time. It's the heart, and so everyone kind of goes, no, that's a great idea, that could work, that might destroy the anti-life equation. And Golden Glider goes, no, we're not. Chuck's not dying. And Chuck goes, well, you always said that my was the best thing about me was that I was nice. And well, that used to make me angry, but I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want to, hurt your feelings. But it's hysterical. And then he goes, but you know what? In this instance, if that's what it is, and he makes the decision to make the big sacrifice. In that moment, I was getting a bit teary. I was like, oh my God, like this is a villain. This is like Kite-Man. This guy's a joke. And he's like ready to take the ultimate sacrifice for the team, and is this beautiful moment with Glider where he proposes to her and asks her to be the one to do it.
Yeah,
I thought that was like that brought a heart to this show that you don't usually get in Harley Quinn. That's fine. That's not what it's there for. But I'm glad that this is setting itself differently.
Yeah, and the fact too that is we find out later like Glider actually was never going to be able to kill him. She's like, that was the plan. Yeah. And then it was like, well, what were you going to do? It's like, well, I was just kind of figuring it out once we got to that point, But, I just thought it was also funny, too, that it just kind of came around. It goes, I guess she had concepts of a plan. Didn't really have a plan,
Yeah, well, she had concepts of a plan. You're right. But which is, it's just as good.
Yeah, especially in the moment. For sure.
Especially in the moment, exactly. But none of that actually comes to pass because even though Chuck spends 20 minutes reading the anti-life equation backwards and figures that out, Lex Luthor descends, and they hold him off, and then Darkseid shows up, And by the way, Darkseid's B plot is the best. This is one of the best plots ever, where he's really angry that the chip that the homing chip they have on Malice's cat was ripped out by the giant angry chicken. And so he goes to Brad, who's the guy who gave him a guarantee, the lifetime guarantee, and enslaves him as his assistant on Apocalypse. And by the end of the episode, Brad's saying some real nasty stuff, which I can't say because my kid's right next to me. But then Darkseid's like, "Whoa, Brad, the kingdom here isn't exactly NC-17 for Brad," or something like that. It was so funny.
There's a lot of commentary in this series about like customer service. I want to say that whole thing and big business and stuff like that, which I thought was pretty damn fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why Villigan is helping them, because the thing that she cares about most is her customers, because the customers are always right unless they're dead.
Exactly, which I thought was a spectacular moment there when they had done that.
So funny.
It's like, maybe we're gonna give her a little heart. I'm like, no, not really. It's like, no, if I don't have customers, I don't make money. So, we got to keep those poor sacks of shit alive.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
I love it.
And, as I say, the episode wasn't without its Bane stuff when he's talking about how much fiber he needs to eat and everything like that, which made me laugh personally because of that whole YouTube video that I loved when he was trying to get something going so he could take a shit in the toilet and then go find Goldilocks in the 80s, because she went in the last episode, she went down to the time travel toilet that they have.
That's hysterical. And she winds up with Golden Glider's mom, and Golden Glider's mom is like, "Oh, hey, did you just deuce back to the 80s? Like, just use the bathroom and come back in time? Okay." And then she pretty much tells her the entire story of Golden Glider and the anti-life equation. And she sees that there were tryouts for Darkseid chorus.
In the newspaper, in the local newspaper. That's the best part about it, that Darkseid's got a local ad in the Gotham Gazette.
I love that. Look, the 80s was a hell of a time. It was a wild west of a time. I'm going to say this for a 200th episode. For Archie, boss man, I think we need a Bane chorus for a 200th episode. Oh, not a Bane. We need a Darkseid chorus for a 200th episode.
I was just trying to imagine a Bane chorus where an entire chorus is like sounding like Bane and singing the whole shit. That would be pretty. That's pretty genius. You may have stumbled upon that, but it's pretty genius.
That would be a great explosion. It's so funny. But all right, so there is one member who keeps pointing out the flaws in the plan, and he's like, Desaad, if you're ever at a party and you don't know who the pooper is, it's you. You're the party pooper. Oh God, that was so funny. And Desaad has this great line, like, "All right, I know the plan is to look everywhere in the universe but Noonan's, but I cheated and looked at Noonan's, and your daughter's there."
Yeah, it's like, come on, dude. Like, this is your whole life quest and all this other shit, and then who is it? Doesn't someone ask him or say something like that? A question if Darkseid wants to fuck the anti-life equation or something like that?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. I believe that might have been Golden Glider.
Yeah, like whatever the hell he was going to do with it. But Glider's mom, though, from the past, she decides to, like, at least they present it as do the right thing, and she joins the choir and leads to a pretty huge moment later on, where I'm going to be honest, I didn't actually see this coming at all.
Me neither. So they're fighting Darkseid, and she pretty much disrobes as one of the chorus members, says to her daughter, "Hey, I heard you had the anti-life equation. Don't say never did anything for you," and literally grabs it from Kite-Man as Darkseid's about to attack him for it, and jumps into the book of fables that Miss Fable, or the Fable Queen, has. Queen of Fables, that's it. And then whatchamacallit, he so they're tossing it around, and then I did not see coming at all. But they throw it to the public school teacher, and it it's Martian Manhunter in disguise.
And I'm going to tell you the truth. During this episode, there was a point where I started to wonder, like, did they just decide to just pretend there were no DC heroes anymore? That just like, hey, they all just like completely don't exist, and then wham, we get Martian Manhunter here, and not like as a joke either. Like,
Yeah,
he's legit.
No. He there's no punchline. He shows up. He's like, "Up, Martian Manhunter here. I'm gonna take this away. Thanks for your service, guys. Kite-Man, you're the man." He leaves, and that's it. Like for Martian Manhunter, we'll see more of him next season.
Yeah.
Because what we do see is whatchamacallit. So Glider's mom is dead, right? Or is she just is she become zombified?
No, Glider's mom goes into the Queen of Fables book, right? Into the Book of Fables, and she basically ends up taking over down there and becomes like the queen and zombifies everything else.
Oh,
and she sets up to be the villain for season 2. I'm gonna guess.
Okay, I missed that because I didn't realize because I thought because they did show the evil like stepmother, whatever, the evil queen before, and I didn't realize I missed that Golden Glider took that over from her, but Golden Glider's mom. But yep, so there you go. Golden Glider's mom has now got the entirety of the Book of Fables enthralled by her, and they're going to destroy some worlds. They're going to take over some worlds in next season.
Yes, she has the anti-life equation also, because I mean, even though Martian Manhunter has the book itself, which technically has all of this inside of it, I mean, she possesses the anti-life equation, which is, again, that is not where I thought this whole thing was going to end up, but pretty interesting actually to see what the hell where they go with this next year.
Yeah, I'm making a prediction because it paid. It didn't pay off this episode, and I trust the writers. Clearly, Chuck is going to have some powers next season because of reading the anti-life equation. Like, there can't be no repercussions for him reading that thing.
Yes, upside down, sideways, every other way he read it.
Yeah.
Like, there has to be something.
And he did spin it around. Like, there was that moment where he's like, "Oh wait, that's better." Oh, and he got some of it. So I think that's why I think they're gonna have to tap him, where he's gonna be the only one who could do anything against her, because he also I think he's now part, the anti-life equation is part of it anyway.
Yeah. So I guess overall thoughts on the season as well, right? Because now we've wrapped it up and we have an entire full season of Kite-Man. Hell yeah. I thought it was. I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty funny here. I'm not so. I think Harley Quinn still is even a bit more zany and a bit more out there too. But I think it was a solid season to build on. I mean, yeah, there were moments where I think some jokes may have been a little bit repetitive and stuff like that. But positive, like my favorite thing, and I'm pretty sure we discussed this, is Bane being pushed to the forefront and getting more screen time for us personally was fantastic. Yeah. I mean, as much as we both love like wacky, off the wall Bane here.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. It's like this. I agree with you. This was not a perfect season, but it was real good.
Yeah, it was.
I think Bane. Yeah, Bane was the standout, I think, for both of us. But I think this has more going on for it than just Bane, and I think that's important too, because I think Kite-Man. I like Kite-Man a lot. He's got a lot of heart. The weird drunk, cast of characters in the bar that is his team. I love that. Like, just the Queen of Fables being the only one with any real power.
Yeah, right.
Outside of Golden Glider, but that's different. I liked Villigan, and I really enjoyed the different B, C, D list characters they brought in and kind of revitalized. And I'm going to admit, like, I didn't know I needed this, but I needed a comedic dark side. That's probably my favorite thing outside of Bane from this season, is just comedic dark side, because he's such a serious character, and he still has his same, like, he still wants to destroy the universe, enslave the universe, but he's like an 80s boss, or a movie from a boss from an 80s movie,
Yeah, I'm gonna echo that. I also enjoyed the dark side and this kind of like spin on him and stuff like that. And it wasn't like a total lampoon of anything, but hearing Darkseid curse and everything like that, and just get frustrated and talk about just the petty dumb shit he was talking about.
Yeah, and the best part, I think, and I thought of you, because I know that you love the Arnold Palmers, but like, when they say to Darkseid, like, well, all right, Mr. Darkseid, I know you're mad at us because we stole your anti-life equation, but there's one person who could really turn this around, and then it cuts to the noon end, and it's the Lee Trevino, because that was the drink that he wanted the other day. You see, like, he's just sitting there drinking with them, like, and that's again why it's so funny. It's like, yeah, I just want the anti-life equation. You guys stopped me from getting it, but let's have a drink. It's fine. Like,
yeah, it's all right. I'll get back to it next time. Don't worry about that. It's just only my only galactic conquest that I've destroyed worlds for and shit like that. But it's all right now. It's okay. So, I look forward to next season. I'm hoping we get an announcement soon that there is a season 2 and they're going to continue Kite-Man. Hell yeah, because I think there's some stuff to explore here, moving forward.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. All right. So then that brings us to our movie of the week, which I'd mentioned to kick off the show. This, with the release of The Crow 2024, as we usually do, we do decide to go down a rabbit hole of the franchise. And we last week we covered The Crow 1994, which we had a blast, and Jason, quote, filleted the shit out of it.
I did. It's a great movie.
Yeah, listen, I'm sure I wasn't right. I was right behind you too, man. We were both there. It was fantastic, and for some more behind baseball stuff too. In a rare moment, I given Jason an out on this movie and this franchise, because this is a movie I have heard Jason complain about since it released. Okay? Since we were in high school together. Yes. In 1996, which means that like the beginning of the school year is when you must have seen this, because this released in late August, right? So it must have been like the first month of school. You and Bear and Grogan went to see this.
Yeah.
And
that sounds about right.
I have never forgotten the advice I was given in that faithful day. There may be a lot of things maybe I didn't remember from high school, but this was one of the things that stuck out as about the Crow City of Angels. And I did not watch it. I avoided this movie, okay, since 1996. And now it is 2024. And around the same time, not too far off, is when I actually got around to watching it. And Jason, for the love of the show, for being a soldier who was there to do what is necessary, rewatched this for the first time this week. And Jason, has anything changed since 1996 for you?
No, this movie is just as bad as when I watched it the other day as I was. Like, I realize that I saw this movie once in the theater when I was 16, which is I ain't been 16 in a long time. But when I tell you, I was having flashbacks of moments of this movie. I remembered way more of this movie than anyone should. I remembered the terrible writing, right? Of, hey, Ed, do you know what they call a gathering of crows? A murder of crows. A murder of crows. Think about it. I remember that stupid fucking line, and it's so. What's there to think about? You're not being. This isn't clever writing, you 16-year-old edgelord. That's fucking blatant. You just call him and say, "I'm the Crow. I'm going to come and kill you. Kill you." Think about it. It's just as blatant.
Well, Jason, there is one thing though. They did get you to think about it since 1996.
They did. That's how fucking stupid it was.
Exactly, but hey, you didn't say what it was good or bad. They got you to think about it for so many years later.
But no, man, every single problem I had, I still have. And I'm going to say this, right? I want to make it clear, because at the end of this, I do have to defend that it is better than the new Crow, because I did say that's why I'm rewatching these movies. and I'm going to stick to that. And the audience is going to hear me say some things. And I just want you to know that it doesn't matter. This movie is still garbage. I am literally saying one pile of shit is better and more preferable than another pile of shit from the same animal, because they're in the same franchise, right? That's all I'm saying, guys. This movie is awful.
So I will echo some of that. Like, all right, I'm not breaking any news here, right? The movie was released in 1996. This movie holds a whopping 14% critic rating on Rotten Tomatoes with a 40% audience rating, which I both think are actually a little bit high for my opinion of this movie. This movie is completely and utterly unwatchable. This movie is absolute fucking garbage on every sense of the word. And the fact that it is a sequel that tries to stand on the shoulders of the original film in more ways than I actually anticipated, okay, pissed me off even further. Okay? This movie is completely incoherent and it tries to somewhat be a pretender that it's the first movie, but then again also takes, I guess I'm going to give it a little bit of credit because I thought it was really going to be a copy and paste Crow movie, but at least they give us a different type of murder here, like the main character in this, Ash. Okay, so Ash is not like Ash Draven. It's Ash Corvin, played by Vincent Perez here. And the short version is him and his son get murdered by a gang of drug dealers. The son witnesses it. They can't have any witnesses, so boom, they're ordered. The head of the drug kingpin thing, Judas, goes ahead and Judah goes and orders the murder of them. They go ahead and they get killed. They go into the water and stuff like that, like the docks over there, and resurrected because this is supposed to be an untimely thing, and it was sad and love and yada yada yada. And he goes on a warpath for his revenge. I purposely left out some pretty big details here because they're the ones that drove me completely up the fucking wall. Okay? Number one, Jason. The fact that they had the gall to set this in the same universe, the same movie, the same world as the original one, and they took Sarah, right? She got a little bit older.
Yeah.
And she moves to LA from Detroit, I guess, and to work in a tattoo parlor shop, and just randomly starts having as visions.
Yeah, crow fantasies, visions of the crows.
Exactly.
She's
like
tattooing them up with crows. Like she gives Iggy Pop comes in for a tattoo, and she gives him a crow.
Yeah, I didn't understand exactly, and they don't ever bother explaining how the whole crow mythology and this whole supernatural thing got attached to the random little girl who was there, who was with Eric. And they do acknowledge briefly Eric and Shelley because she has the wedding ring on and stuff like that, and she's kind of talking about it. So they just let you know, yes, this is the same girl, and we don't get an explanation of why she's attached to the whole crow thing. But when some dude comes popping out of the water, she decides to paint his face again, just like Eric, and like knights him the crow essentially, and kind of gives him like the whole exposition, like of what his deal is.
Right. It's just like all of a sudden she's become the watcher of the crows. Like this was what they were trying to do with the franchise. Like it made zero sense. None of this made any sense. And I'm going to say this, that you're right. This was not a cut and paste job. It was a cut and paste job. And then they hit find Shelley and replace with whatever the hell the kid's name is, because this outside of the fact that it's a different type of murder, this is really aping that first movie a lot.
Oh, for sure. I'm not disputing that at all. Like, I agree with you. But I guess my expectations going into this is I really didn't know much about it. Is I really thought it was going to be like a couple gets murdered together. and this whole shit. I thought it was really gonna not even try to hide it even for a second. No, but
Okay,
I wonder if this pisses me off even more because again, you try to build on the first film and continue the story with one of the characters from the first movie who randomly is in LA, and that whole thing annoyed me. Like in the whole, she's a watcher of the crows, and yes, he goes on his murder thing, and we'll get into the villains in a second because I think we could break it down the same way. But I think starting off with Sarah is probably because that's our gateway into this film anyway, or alleged gateway into this film. It's really a mess, right? And I can see where we shift over to Ash, right? Like, okay, it sucks, like this guy got killed with his son and want to watch his son die. All right, yeah, I'm trying to get it invested into this thing. And the same type of thing that happens in the first movie, he goes and the scene of the crime, he kind of relives the whole thing and stuff like that. It is, you can see there's like some sort of sadness there, but then that goes out the window in 2 seconds, and then we get the goofiness of this fucking movie. So he is a mechanic, right? All right, so he's not a rock star like Eric. He's a mechanic. Okay, he's riding around a motorcycle, and all right, fine. Okay,
yeah, I didn't mind that.
I guess. No, yeah. But then he's a magician? What the fuck was going on with that?
I don't know.
He's playing with cards at one point. He starts turning things, making them into fire, and tying into the first murder, right? The first act of revenge he gets with the palm trees.
Yes. Oh god, the palm trees, which I texted you, and tell me I was not wrong. Watching those palm trees, I got flashbacks of being like in middle school, sitting in Six Flags Great Adventure, watching the Batman like stunt show, and it's just like, hey, we're gonna blow off explosives in front of you, and it'll be cool. That's exactly what it looked like. It was so clearly controlled movie technical explosives.
Like what the? And it's funny because as soon as I saw the palm trees in a shot, I started laughing because I knew what was coming because of your text, and I was dying laughing. And Angie was actually in the other room listening to me laugh my ass off constantly throughout this entire movie, and I was cursing at other times during this movie. Like, are you? And a lot of it was, are you fucking serious? So
yeah.
So I guess I don't know why he's a magician, and he also, it is kind of difficult to understand him a lot of times, and whatever, he has a bit of an accent. That's fine.
All right, but the accent wasn't what bothered me. It was the fact that he mumbled a lot. Yeah, it wasn't the accent. Because I'm not sitting here saying, "Oh, no, my crow needs to be white." No, I didn't give a shit. It's a fucking crow. But like, I have to understand you, and it wasn't his accent. It wasn't like I'm sitting there going, "I'm sorry, what is it?" No, I'm just like, "I'm sorry. Can you take those marbles out of your mouth? I can't understand you."
Yeah, I definitely noticed that. I mean, I'm probably gonna like ding the sound mixing and stuff like that, the sound guy for this or whatever. Because it was
I'm not blaming him. Rough. I'm just saying I couldn't understand him.
It was pretty rough to understand a lot of this crap that was going on here, and so I guess we can move to the villains we get, like the gang and stuff like that. That's here. So unless you got anything else to add on to Ash, I'm sure we'll be talking about
he's just he's just there. I mean, I don't hate his character. I don't understand a lot of what he's saying. I think it's a retread of a lot of stuff. I did want to talk about his son though, because this was, I think this is a big difference between the first movie and this movie. Because this movie, like all kidding aside, this should have been a direct to VHS like sequel. Like that's what it looks like as I'm watching it. Does. And the only reason I believe it wasn't is because I saw it in the theater.
You're right. I mean, I think that, you're right. The production quality of this film seems extremely cheap. And this isn't, we're gonna bang on 1996. No, this movie, even for its time, looks super fucking
No.
cheap and bullshit.
Yeah. Because The Crow was 94 and it looks amazing for its time. And we didn't once bang it out for its effects. We actually said, no, you have to understand that this was what they could do at the time. Like, but it looks good. It holds up. This didn't look good then. I was there. I saw it. It didn't look good.
Yeah, this.
But
man.
So the big difference here, right, is the first one when we see the murder of Shelley, it's harrowing, right? And she's not an idiot. She's not like she's just idealistic. She's like, no, I'm gonna fight. This is our home. We can't just be run out. And it's tragic, and it makes you feel horrible for it. The way the kid dies is they hear a gunshot, and the kid goes, "Daddy, what's that?" and runs out toward the gunshot. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. A, if you live in a bad neighborhood where this shit happens, you know not to run toward gunshots. And B, everyone knows not to run toward gunshots or big explosions. They are frightening.
Usually you run the other way. Typically.
Right. But he runs into them and then watches them murder this guy. And, unlike The Last Crow, one could legitimately make the case that these guys had no choice because the worst actor in the movie, Judah, the boss, told them to do it. So
yeah,
they had and Iggy Pop says that he's like, I had no choice. I was told to do that, and he's correct. Whereas in The Last Crow, the Big Shot, or what's the guy? I forget he's a fun name, but I forget his name. But the head.
It'll come to me. I don't want to cheat and look it up.
Okay, but he he doesn't directly say, guys, you have to kill them. He says, look, get them out. I don't care what you do. And they take that on themselves. So these guys are all getting murdered for following orders, and I'm not defending them, but it takes a lot of the oomph away of
top dollar.
Wow, this is real. Top dollar. That's it. Thank you. Where I was like, wow, this is revenge. This makes me feel good. This revenge flick. Because I'm like, all right, you killed a bunch of idiots who followed the orders of a terrible actor. Okay.
So hold on. So if the guy who played Judah was better, you would have been a little bit more accepting of him?
No, I just wanted to take the opportunity to point out that he's the worst actor in the movie. And that is saying something because Iggy Pop is in this movie.
Oh, yeah. I guess I want to touch on one thing you had brought up was in the world that is created. So this is supposed to be Los Angeles. This looks like a dystopian wasteland, way worse than what we saw in Detroit in the last film. There is zero police presence at all in this, or any form or hint at a functioning society on any level. I don't know what the hell was going on here. It was just orange everywhere, and everything was it was worse than Mad Max. I didn't know what the hell was going on with this. I would like to have known more about that, and they just don't bother. It's just there.
You watch the first one and you go, you know what? I don't know how society got to this point, but I get it. This makes sense. And here's the thing. They don't give us a ton of history, right? Or backstory in that first one, but they create a world that seems real, that actual real people live in it. We get Ernie Hudson, we get Sarah, we get more than just the lunatics and the Crow. And in this, we don't really get that. We get Sarah, but she's part of the Crowing now. She's not like a part of the population. She's part of the gang, and everyone is either with the Crow or against him. And you're right. There's no cop. There are no people. It's just these villains and the Crow and his people.
Yeah, it seems like a very small world that we're getting in this movie. And it's just bizarre, right? Even from scene to scene, it's just wasteland, and there's just nothing. So you're right though, but we get so that I guess these people would count more within Judah's people, right? Because we also get this entire S&M thing that's going on here with Judah.
Oh yeah, I don't even know. Like there's this one.
What?
My God, what a bad scene! You just reminded me of a terrible scene, right?
What?
So Judah's selling drugs, and there's this S&M club thing going on, and then one of his guys apparently got rid of the shipments, and they caught him. But the reason he got rid of the shipment is because it was laced with something and it was killing their customers. And he was like, look, no, Judah, I'm trying to help you out. We can't kill, if you kill our customers, they're not going to come back, which is, what Villigan taught us in the last segment, right?
It's true. This is true.
And this guy goes, oh, well, if the batch, see, I can't even do it. I can't be as bad of actor as Judah, but if the batch is that bad, well, we'll test it on you. And so they strap him down and injected him to kill him. And he goes, I guess it was a bad batch. And it was like, so let me get this straight. You just murdered the guy who was looking out for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, was he also he was also the guy who said, wait, no, I can help. I can help you. I can make it up to you. And Judah goes, you already have. I enjoy killing. I enjoy taking pain, whatever, taking pleasure in people's pain. And I mean, this guy, man, is the worst lines and the worst delivery.
He does. He says something in that scene too about like, that they provide. I guess his business is providing things of either drugs or sex, essentially, right? And that is literally all he does in this entire film. Like, we know he's a drug dealer. He does that a little bit, but every time we catch up with him, he's involved in this indoor S&M sex thing that goes on 24/7. Apparently, it's just nonstop.
Oh, it never stops.
These people just don't stop fucking. Like, they are machines at this. I don't know if he's got like people churning in and out and stuff like that. I don't know what's going on, because one of the characters also says that he doesn't know what it's like outdoors because he's always inside in this like building where all of this is going on. I have so many questions about this character Judah. It is bonkers. It is mind-boggling.
And you haven't even scratched the surface yet, because by the end of this, he's proven that he knows about the crow and he knows how to take the crow's power. And he has a line, which is a shitty line, and it could just be a throwaway line. But the fact that he's like invincible at the end of this movie, like the crow is like shooting him, stabbing him, and he's like, and the crow runs him through. And this is another one of those lines that stuck with me since I saw it in the theater. Runs him through with a spike or whatever, a big rod, and he goes, "Go to hell," or blah 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 hell. And Judah goes, "I've been there before. I must admit, I quite liked it, or I quite liked what I saw," something like that. And it's like, all right, that's a terrible line. That's fucking awful. A, but B, has he been? Because you have set no boundaries on this. You've made this character a god.
Yeah, I mean, to my understanding, it was when, the woman, again, just like Top Dollar had, he also has a random sidekick who was having visions and cut her own eyes out to make them stop. Okay, you started doing some sort of character development for a little bit, but that's as far as it goes. And then she just randomly knows everything about the fucking crow and tells him all of it, just exposition dump, right? Everything he needs to know, it happens right there. And he gets the hold of the crow, of course, which, by the way, in a very interesting manner, because the crow is there and he drops like a fucking bird cage on it, doesn't fly away, just stays there, waits for him to do this thing. And he pins it down. He pins it down.
Yeah, it's like the end of
and stabs
so stupid.
the crow, the actual crow, to death, like the bird, and drinks its blood, and then somehow steals Ash's power. That's how he becomes invincible.
I don't know.
That's a thing now too. All Top Dollar had to do was drink the blood of the crow.
It was so, and look, if anyone should have done it. It should have been Top Dollar, not this fucking Judah character who's not really a character.
It's really
that
so weird.
It makes no sense, and I get the thought process. I get the concept of a plan that they had, right? Okay, so in the first one, we gave him a bunch of these really interesting like guys to fight, and then Top Dollar. And Top Dollar almost, Top Dollar was able to kind of nullify the Crow power, but this is a sequel. We got to go bigger. What if we give him the new villain the Crow power, and it's Crow versus Crow? And I'm not even saying that's a bad idea, but this is a terrible execution.
That's what a lot of this is. I don't think that some of the concepts in this movie are terrible ideas, but it's just a complete mess on every level. And I guess we also jump to the guys he kills. So the first guy he kills, we had mentioned that's where the exploding palm trees happen for no reason. The character's name is Spider Monkey. And then we go on to Nemo, who is played by, and my God, I am so happy that his career survived this movie. Thomas Jane is in this movie as a character
wild, right?
named Nemo who wears a wig, and basically when we see him, he's in a peep show booth who has to go like he's there, masturbating in a peep show booth, and then has to go scramble to put in quarters or whatever the fuck is going on there. And then when the thing reopens, it's the Crow, and he like jumps through the glass like Superman style at him, and I'm assuming his pants were down when this whole thing goes down and happens. I
guess. And this really begs a lot of questions. This is one of those kills where they went, this is going to look cool. And it didn't. But it did beg a lot of questions. So here are some questions I would like to ask. We watched the whole strip show that he had watched until the thing went down.
Yes.
It took him less than a minute to get that coin back in.
Yep.
How did the Crow set all of that up? Where did the stripper go? Did the Crow was the Crow sitting waiting like, all right, so hopefully he doesn't start jerking it yet. Hopefully he doesn't make it until the thing goes down, because I don't have to fight him with cum on his hands. That's gross. I'm a Crow, but I'm like, I'm not that kind of Crow. I mean, what was the fucking plot? What was the plan? And then how did this happen?
I don't know. I have no fucking idea. But he's the one who tells. That's where the scene happens when it's like what you call a group of crows and stuff like that. Oh, a murder. Think about it. That it's Nemo, and my God,
that's it.
Thomas Jane. Thank God you survived this to be a Punisher later on, and plenty of other wonderful roles you played, because this could have ended. I mean, listen, he's the only person I remember seeing ever again after this.
Well, in all fairness, Iggy Pop was never an actor.
No,
and so
which is what I'm saying. Like,
but like his music career was just fine.
Yes, it wasn't going to hurt his music career. I will preface by saying acting careers. Okay, and maybe people went on that I just don't recognize them, and that's fair enough. And then the next murder we get, right? The next thing with the Crow, he ends up killing this woman that's got a sword and shit like that, and he kind of throws her out a window, and her head snaps against the thing. Her blood sprays into a perfect crow.
Yeah.
After every murder, random crow things start like shaping and forming out of nowhere.
You gotta have a calling card, you gotta be able to you gotta have a calling card.
Oh my God! Wow, you went there. Wow.
Yes. Hell yeah.
I just don't understand how does that happen?
It's stupid. It doesn't. It's stupid.
And then we get this other scene where he's hunting someone else down, and it's in the orgy thing, and he's popping up and appearing in the orgy where they keep seeing him randomly in the middle of the orgy. I got more questions about Ash here again. Like, were you involved in this thing at all? Like, nobody questioned anything about you being there?
He knew how to navigate an orgy like he belonged there. Clearly.
Yes.
Maybe this wasn't his first time at this orgy. This is like the orgy place, right? This is the S&M sex orgy party, right? Maybe he maybe before he had his kid, that's what he used to do on his Saturday nights.
But Jason, what's even stranger than that though is from out of nowhere, there are 5 goons who pop out with machine guns. Do they just sit there and wait in the orgy and wait for somebody to show up and then are ready to go? Is that what they do? Is that their job?
You never know when orgy's going to go wrong.
I guess.
You never know.
Just another thing, though, kind of like the Peep Show seemed like, how did this happen? Why did this happen? I don't understand it. And then he goes and hunts down, and that's where he was starting to hunt down. And he's hunting down Iggy Pop, right? Whose name is Curve in this movie. And the way that this thing goes down, where Iggy Pop drives down this alleyway, this random alleyway, spins around, and waits for the crow to run all the way the fuck at him. Doesn't do anything to him. Just stands there, sits there on the motorcycle, waiting for him to run all the way down the fuck. I thought he was going to look at his watch and be like, all right, let's go, buddy. Come on. It's murder time. Let's go.
Come on.
Let's get here. Let's pick up the pace, buddy. And he yells at him, fuck you, bird dick.
Bird dick. What a stupid thing. It's just it's like they hired the worst possible actors and the worst possible writers and went, how bad could it be?
And they were like, something, we're going to show you how bad it can be.
Exactly. Because don't get me wrong, I love Iggy Pop. I think Iggy Pop is an awesome musician. I think Iggy Pop with a good director on TV is fine. He played an alien in Star Trek DS9 around this time. I think he was like just dipping his toe in like acting. And he's fine on that. He's restrained. Like that director knew you don't put him in the forefront, right? But like he's terrible, and it's not even like he's like delivering this horrible bird dick line well. It's like, all right, a bird dick. It's like, what?
Jason, he also shoots him off the motorcycle, and the crow shoots the fucking gasoline on the motorcycle, and it just throws him off of it. That's it. Nothing else. It was kind of like, I thought he was just going to be covered in like black smoke, and that's it. It would have been like Looney Tunes or something like that.
Yes, exactly.
And he gets thrown into a river where people are throwing rose petals because they refer to like the Day of the Dead in this and everything like that. And the rose petals form around his body floating in a crow form. Once again. With the crow shit again. Like,
it doesn't make any sense.
How? Why is any of this happening?
Because you know what never happened in the first one? Like random crow shit.
No, he just does the one fire and that's it.
That's it, but he does that too.
Yes.
It's not like he cuts someone's throat and like the blood magically turns into a crow. It's like no, okay, he's planned that. He's like, all right, I'm gonna kill this guy, and then I'm gonna have to wait a little bit because I got to do some crow stuff because it's part of the crowing. I have to get my message across, and then after that, he's like, I don't have to let them know. They know I'm coming at this point. Like it's a tactic in the first movie. In this, it's just weird, nonsensical magic.
Yeah, it just keeps randomly happening throughout the film. And you're right. In the first movie, it's an intimidation tactic. It's like, hey, listen.
Yeah.
Eric's like, I'm invincible. All right, I know this, you know this, and death is fucking coming for you. And I'm going to let you know it's coming for you. This just happens. Keeps happening.
Yeah.
In weird ways. It's just bizarre. Rick has a comment here. Second best Crow movie made that year in 1996.
What was the first?
What was the other one? Because Salvation, it wasn't made until 4 years later. And Wicked Prayer wasn't until years after that. So, Rick, you're going to have to help educate us on this because there might be something that you know that we don't know. I know there was a TV show at one point, but I also think that wasn't the same year. And no, we're not getting into the TV show. That's not happening.
No. I didn't even realize there were 5 of these movies.
Well, we were. Listen, this is our third movie, so.
I know, but I thought I had one more. I have 2 more.
Or something that never got released. Yeah, you might have to be a bit more specific than that because I know I was going to get into the whole thing about the original concept of this, and we could save that until the end because there was a whole behind-the-scenes fiasco with this movie. But let's focus on the turd burger that we got still because we're almost there. Because I will say the one positive thing about this film, the runtime is under an hour and a half.
Bingo.
Somehow, some way.
And that right there is my first point, counselor, that this is better than the newer Crow movie because both were shit, but one of them was an hour and a half of shit. The other was almost 2 hours of shit. And if I have to watch shit, I'm going to say the less shit, the better.
That is a fair point. So we'll jump back to the end of this movie, right? So we get the battle between the Crow and Judah, and there is some really inexplicable stupidity that happens in this entire final battle. Starting off with when he's killing the actual crow, the bird itself, there comes voodoo. Like he stabbed every time he hurts the crow. Like Ash gets hurt at the same time in the same spot. When was that a thing?
It wasn't. And like if you're going to introduce voodoo, then introduce voodoo in the beginning. That would be more interesting. Instead of Judah being a terrible actor who gets off on pain and lives his life in a fucking S&M dungeon, like
and sells bad drugs to his customers to kill them.
Right, exactly. Like, give him like a Haitian background. Give him like a voodoo background. Give him like he could still be the big bad, but like give him some connection to like the another form of mysticism. And that would then make a bit more sense about like how he kind of figures stuff out about the crow and gets some of the crow's powers. Like there was stuff here that could have made a bit more sense, but like they go, no, we're just going to like make it look like the crow is a voodoo doll, but that's it. And then the chick without the eyes is just going to tell him everything he needs to know because we'll just write it for her to say. It doesn't matter. The character couldn't know this.
It's because the movie has to happen. That's it.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. But how much more interesting if this guy was like a voodoo priest or something like that. And that was another thing he did. And you could even have the S&M shit, but like give him some mystical background to justify why he would have some form of mysticism around him or some knowledge of it.
The S&M stuff goes absolutely fucking nowhere and contributes zero
nowhere
to the story.
Nowhere.
It connects to nothing. It's just there to be there. I don't know.
Look, it could have been a spaghetti and meatball club, and it wouldn't have changed shit. All right,
no,
it wouldn't have changed the plot at all. It just could have been people sitting around eating spaghetti and meatballs, going, "Oh, that's a good meatball," and the plot, nothing would have changed.
I hope that happens in Salvation. That would be great. Spaghetti and meatball club. All right. So this character that you could, some would say is beloved, at least our only real connection to the first film, Sarah, is being held captive by Judah, and that's why how he gets Ash to come out and have this final battle and stuff like that. Okay, whatever. Jason, she walks right into a fucking knife. A huge knife.
Does.
She walks right into it. There's no nothings. I shit you not. Watch the scene. She walks right into a fucking knife. And that's it. She's dead.
And I'll be honest with you, that's stupid in the movie, but I mean, if I were that actress, I'd be like, oh, I've been stabbed. Oh, I'm dead. I'm out of this movie now.
It makes me think of like Paul Rubens and Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's classic.
Ow.
That's great. He's the best part of that movie.
He's great. And then Ash summons a bunch of actual crows to take down the villain, to take down Judah, and Judah just ceases to exist. He just vanishes. And
I guess the crows eat him. I don't know.
They don't. I have no idea what happened. I have no idea what happened.
Yeah, it makes no sense, and the whole summoning the crow thing makes no sense. Like, this isn't called the Crow because he's got some special ability to manipulate crows. It's called the Crow because, and I actually never saw them as literal fucking crows. Like, I always saw them as like how they're written about in Native American mythology. Like, they're harbingers from the other world. They're supernatural beings that happen to live in crow form in our world. So, like, it makes sense that one crow would go, you know what? I'm like a Native American trickster character, and so I'm gonna bring this guy back because I was really terrible. I watched what happened, and I'm gonna help him, mess up some shit up. But like, the whole idea of like, now I'm just gonna call a posse of crows. It's like, where does crows come from? Are they all supernatural crows? How did you know to call the supernatural crows? Like, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered before this particular part of the crowing makes sense.
And that ties back to one of the worst things. Basically, the main issue with this film is how terribly written it is. Like, listen, the guy who plays Judah is Richard Brooks. He's awful, right? He is. Vincent Perez, fine. I think there could have been something there. I mean, you had Thomas Jane and you waste him on a masturbating scene where he gets killed for some bizarre reason. I don't know. By the way, just looking up Richard Brooks, who is listed as American actor and singer. Okay. He is in a long stretch of direct-to-video films. Before and after.
Okay. Is that Judas?
This movie. Yes, this is Judas.
Okay.
So,
I mean,
where they found him?
Yeah, I mean, they found him in the direct to video market. Like, and again, that's part of why this feels like it, because no one is good in this movie, right? No one is good in this movie, but there are, Vincent Perez is fine. I wouldn't say like because Iggy Pop and Judah is in this movie, I'll give him a pass. He's probably the best actor in this. But that's the thing, no one's good.
Wow, so Vincent Perez was also, I was just looking up their IMDb's here. So he was also in Queen of the Damned in 2002.
Oh,
speaking
God, that's another
bad sequels that built
movie
on great original films. So that's like his thing.
Speaking about bad sequels that built on great original films that I saw in the theater and made me turn on the franchise, because that's another one.
Oh my God.
Queen of the Damned, man. Oh, now I'm having fucking late 90s, early aughts flashbacks.
I'm looking at this cast and I'm trying to, man, they are all, a bunch of them are just a lot of direct to video actors. Like, why? What made you think this was going to work?
And that really is my question, why? And that's really what I wanted to talk to you about, Ed, and get your thoughts on this, because this is a sequel to a cult movie that did very well, if I remember, at the box office. That that everyone was crying like, oh my God, Brandon Lee, and it was tragic. It was tragic that he was, that was his big break. He was going to be a fucking movie star. Like, I think in a different universe, you and I are kind of, talking about our favorite Nepo baby, Brandon Lee, right? Because if he had lived, that's what we'd be calling him. But I'm sure he'd be, still, I mean, he was great in The Crow, and I think he only would have gotten better. But so, like, we get that, and their follow-up is this cheap, terribly written, terribly acted piece of garbage. Like, in what, like, imagine if we had Star Wars, and then The Empire Strikes Back was like on a shoestring budget of $15, and like everyone you knew was replaced with terrible actors, and nothing made sense. Like, it's like baffling. Like, but why? Like, you had something.
So this is, you basically led me into something else here. Did you see who wrote this movie?
We've been doing this. We've been doing this enough times.
Too long.
Yes. Yeah. But no, Who wrote this movie? I did not actually.
I want you to take a guess. And I'm going to give you a hint. It is somebody who we have covered a lot of his work on this show, actually. He might be the most baffling screenwriter I have ever known. Period. His consistency is like I have never seen before, or lack thereof.
Wait, is this? It's not David Ayer, is it?
David S. Goyer.
Oh, okay. All right. I knew it was a David, but yes. Oh, David Goyer. Okay.
Yes.
Oh my God.
David S. Goyer wrote this. Now, just for those who may not know, this gentleman wrote us such spectacular things as The Dark Knight, Batman Begins. Okay. He also wrote Man of Steel. But he also wrote Blade Trinity. And directed Blade Trinity.
So I just got the name wrong. Exactly who I thought you were.
And wrote Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
How did he write the Dark Knight? How?
I don't know. Jason, I have. Jason, he wrote this. Just for a second, think about it. The same gentleman who wrote The Dark Knight wrote Crow City of Angels. Well, we can even just leave it at that.
No, but let's deep dive here. Let's make it worse, Ed. The same person who wrote, you know what they call a gathering of crows? A murder of crows. A murder of crows. Think about it. The same person who wrote that beautiful monologue that Alfred gives about how his time in the service and how some people just want to watch the world burn. How the fuck is that possible? How did the same man write those two things?
I'm working on getting you so I can just go further detail because I'm seeing all of the. I want it broken down for his actual writing credits here instead of anything else. Okay, so as a writer, yes, he wrote. Oh, he actually wrote the 2022 Hellraiser, which I didn't get a chance to see it, but Rick told me it was good.
Is that the woman Hellraiser? Is that the new reboot thing? Okay, I am actually curious about that.
He also wrote episodes of the Sandman TV series that we enjoyed.
You kidding?
Let's see. A story by Terminator Dark Fate. Also wrote Krypton, which we actually didn't cover.
Okay, and I want to say this. Dark Fate, I know a lot of people hate it. I actually really like that movie.
I enjoyed it, actually. I don't. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't kill that movie like a lot of people do. But he wrote BVS, Dawn of Justice.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense then. I can
Martha.
Yeah, yes. Right. So the same man who brought us Martha.
How did you say that name? Why did you say that name? The Constantine TV series. All right, that introduced everybody to which I enjoyed. Did you actually watch the Constantine TV series?
I watched I watched a couple of episodes, and then it got canceled, and I was like, because remember before I had fallen off a lot of those WB shows or CW shows before I started.
No, this was an NBC show. I think I'm sure it's on the CW app now because they acquired the rights right at some point.
But assumed it was a CW.
No, this was NBC. This was totally separate. He was brought into the Arrowverse later after the fact because he was so the fans were basically demanding. It's only 13 episodes. You should check it out. I'm curious to get your thoughts on that.
You know what? I will, because I do like that guy a lot. I do kind of miss that character. And you know what? We're gonna be covering Constantine 2 when it comes out. So maybe that'll be my catching up with Mr. J. I'll watch that before we cover Constantine 2.
Man of Steel, Dark Knight Rises, Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance. Jason, He wrote "Scraping at the Door."
I don't understand how. All right, no, I think I understand. Clearly, what we have here is a Christian Bale style twist from The Prestige, where David S. Goyer is actually two people, twins, and one of them is a really good writer and one of them is a really shitty writer. And it just depends on who gets the job, who's taken over. I don't know why they're living the same life as twins, but that's the only thing I got.
He wrote all 3 Blade movies. Okay, but directed the third.
Which is like, 1 is fucking amazing, 2 is great, 3 is garbage. Like, that's the thing. It's like, it's really hit or miss. Like, literally half this guy's
Batman Begins
work sucks and half it is awesome. He wrote that. I mean, Batman Begins is one of the best.
I had mentioned Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. He wrote Sleepwalkers,
which was awful.
Let's see.
He wrote Stephen King one with the cats.
Yes.
All right, that's a weird one. I don't even know where to put that one.
Obviously, Crow City of Angels, The Puppet Masters.
He wrote those?
Well, just a movie, The Puppet Masters. So I'm assuming he wrote all of them. Okay. Kickboxer 2, The Road Back, and Death Warrant, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Wow.
A truly baffling career.
Because there is literally two of my favorite movies of all time, and 2 of the movies I hate the most of all time. He wrote them. That's insane to me.
Jason, I don't know. You're right. It's literally a Harvey Dent coin flip.
That's what it is. It's a Harvey Dent coin flip.
I just don't know. We don't know what we're gonna get. But I also do want to mention though. So I was reading up on it, and so originally, apparently, he was brought in to write the script for the Crow sequel at the time. His original concept was The Crow, the Bride, and it was going to have a female who was murdered on her wedding day come back to avenge her whole death and everything like that.
I would have liked that. We were talking about that. Like, give us that. That would have been cool.
Yes, and guess what? Take a wild guess what happened to that concept.
Studio interference?
Studio shut it down, and guess who that studio was? Ran by a certain Mr. Weinstein.
Let me guess. I was going to guess. I was going to say, is he a big, fat, horrible rapist who belongs in prison for the rest of his life?
Yep. Basically, allegedly, he's just said, hey, ain't no one going to see a Crow movie with a female lead. No one's seen an action movie with a female lead. Smacked it down. David Goyer was going to leave the project, but then decided to hang on because he told them, we need to have a guy in there. And then they did that. They reworked it, whatever. And then after the movie was shot and everything and edited, apparently the Weinsteins came in and re-edited it to make sure that it resembled the original film much further. And that's probably why we have a lot of things in this movie that don't ever get explained, because there's probably a lot left on the cutting room floor that we never saw the light of day. Because they had to make sure, beat for beat, it was a replica of the first movie. The best they can get with what was shot.
Which killed it, because, like, you're giving us a beat for beat like version of a movie we all love, but you're making it much cheaper and giving us people we don't care about. How the fuck was that ever going to work? You know what? Then I'm gonna give Goyer the pass on this one then, because maybe he just went, I gotta eat, but I ain't giving you my best. Like, I was gonna give you a really good Crow script with a female Crow, but you guys are all sexist rapists, so all right, I'll just give you this shit then if that's what you want.
Yeah, I don't know, man. But listen, no. I'm gonna just say twofold here. I'm gonna still the David S. Goyer IMBD page is fascinating to me. And this is the second time me and you have gone down this rabbit hole. Because I guarantee when we did Blade Trinity, if I recall, we did the same exact thing, and we probably brought up Crow City of Angels at that time.
Probably, and I probably spoke about how I would never watch that movie, and it was one of the worst things I ever saw. And I made a vow that I have since broken.
And by you pushing it on top of that, you were the champion of this.
I was. I'm a masochist at heart.
All right, so we've gone over that. The wacky stuff that went on behind the scenes, still baffling. Again, if you're going to make a follow-up to a movie and you actually want to make money, why would you just shoestring budget it and put it in the theater and do what they did? And who knows, maybe there is a cut of this film that exists one day or somewhere that is average. Probably not.
No, and I can say that because the acting is too bad and the writing is too bad. Like I never once said the editing is the problem in this. Like, now that I know it's been edited and like, you know, edited for the wrong reasons, I'm sure there's a more coherent story in a version, but I don't think it's a better movie.
Yeah, no, because we still get some of these genius lines in here. So that's that. And I guess the one question we got to ask ourselves before we wrap this thing up is this the worst Crow movie that we have seen out of the three so far? Because I know you've been jonesing, you've been scraping at the door to get to this.
Oh, I've been scraping at the door. It is not. All right, it's bad. There's no denying that, right? I mean, we're all here. It's bad. However, this has a couple of things the other one doesn't. One, as I said, hour and a half. You're in, you're out, right? There's no fucking methadone clinic. There's no, pussyfooting around. That's another thing, the pacing. This is a shitty movie. The pacing is not bad. Because, like the first one, death, crowing happens right away. Kill, fight at the end. Right? Now, these kills weren't as good. These characters weren't as good. It certainly wasn't as interesting. But if you're gonna ask me to choose a Crow movie, and you're gonna say I can give you a 2-hour Crow movie where you get about a half an hour of crowing and an hour and a half of like pussyfooting and going on dates and just doing whatever the fuck's going on in this movie, or I can give you an hour and a half. The crowing happens right away, and it's shitty, but at least there's no contest. Like this, at least something's going on. Like that's a problem with that in the new Crow movie. Nothing happens for the longest time, and by the time it doesn't matter anymore. This is bad, but it happens. Stuff happens. This movie gets going. This movie starts and it goes, and it doesn't end until it ends, thankfully. And whereas the new one, it doesn't get started for the longest time. And I'm gonna make the argument it doesn't make much more sense. Like, Houston's a good actor. He's a great actor. Skarsgård's a good actor, maybe even a great actor. So, I think we give that movie a bit of a pass because the acting is better. But like that movie, Houston just made a
do it.
Devil, a hand waving deal with the devil, where nothing like you never know why he did this or what he gets, and then his deal is he whispers in your ear and you kill yourself, and that doesn't make any fucking sense. That makes just as much sense as the never ending S&M party. And oh wait, he has that. He has the never ending. I get people to play piano and kill themselves party, right? Because isn't that what that fucking video is about?
Yes, that's actually
so. This movie makes about as much sense as the new one, but the pacing's better. It's shorter, so there's less of it. And I would say it's more exciting. It's bad, but it's exciting. At least shit's happening. That's my defense, Your Honor. I rest my case.
By the way, one thing we didn't mention, and now this, I guess it's a good time to bring it up too. Sarah has Eric's jacket and gives it to the new guy.
Oh yes, that's right.
I thought of you when I saw that, and I was like, Jason might be throwing something at his TV or something like that now.
But you know why I wasn't though? You know why I wasn't? Because that was a blink and you miss it. That wasn't. This is Eric's jacket. Did you do the close up yet? Still do the close up. We're gonna do another close up before he puts it on, which happens in that movie, right? You remember we were sitting there next to each other, and I fucking audibly laughed out loud when they had that fucking close up still on the jacket. This was all right. Hey, this is like pathetically trying to give you stuff from the first movie that was iconic, and it's pathetic and it's shitty. But I'd much rather this is the jacket from the first movie than the jacket. Let's look at it. You know, it's different.
All right, I'm gonna list pros and cons for you. Okay, because right now I'm thinking, and I'm gonna talk it out now. I'm thinking it's a push for me.
Okay.
Now, but I'm gonna say I'm gonna list the pros and cons. And by the end of this, I might disagree. I might actually have a solution. So this movie, the pros that this movie gets, it is shorter. So you're right. There is less of it, so we can get this over with as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
There is, I guess the pacing is better. There is better pacing. So shorter film, better pacing. I guess better soundtrack-ish, but not even really, because this movie has like a lot of bands that I'm aware of that I know, like Hole and Korn and White Zombie and stuff like that. So I guess it's somewhat recognizable. Not songs that really stand out of theirs, but there's that. And the new movie, I don't know what's going on there. And that's about it for Crow City of Angels.
That's about it.
The cons are it makes absolutely no sense. It has really bad acting. The whole thing of bringing Sarah into this film really annoys the shit out of me. It bothers me. It really does.
Yeah, and I'm going to say that it really annoyed me that they hinted at like this guy was like hitting on her as the Crow, right? Like there's that moment where he's like, "What if I want to go back? Or don't want to go back? What if I want to stay here with you?" And she's like, "Nah, bro, it's not happening." It's like this is weird. This was a little girl last time, and she's not now, and that's fine. But like, why is the Crow trying to fuck her?
Yeah, I did catch that quickly, but I kind of feel like I was like, no. And it took me a while to figure out that this was Sarah, and I was like,
me too.
What?
Me too.
They're not doing that. And I remember I yelled out loud, like, they are not fucking doing that. Stop it. And yes, they were. Then I guess the new movie, not to rehash the whole thing with that, but yeah, the pacing is shitty. Soundtrack's blah. It's boring for most of it. I will still stand by the last act fight was really cool. I agree.
I agree. And I will give it. It has superior acting because because there are a couple of really top-notch actors like Skarsgård and Houston, and I'm sure there are others I just don't know the names of. But
no, because the girl the girl who plays Shelley in the new one is fucking terrible.
Yeah, she's not good.
Yeah, but she's really bad.
But she is leagues better than anyone in this movie.
Yeah. So there's less bad acting in the new one, but still bad acting.
Yeah, I guess. But again, there's still bad acting. It's just less.
Now there's more. You're right. There's more of a bad movie because this new one goes on for 2 hours, so I have to sit through another over 30 plus minutes of nonsense.
Right. And remember that an hour of that is just their relationship. They don't get killed until an hour in the movie. He doesn't start doing Crow shit till an hour and a half. I clocked it when we were sitting there. So, at least he's doing Crow shit in this right away. It might not be good, but it's on brand. Like we're not watching him try to heal a dead horse or whatever the fuck was going on in the beginning of that movie.
And I will say the production value of the new one is it looks
Agreed.
like a Hollywood film. So I mean, I
Agreed.
can't bang on it for that. It looks like somebody actually paid money to make the film. So I don't know. I guess I am still saying it's a push because they both suck. They're both really bad and really pale in comparison to the original. Obviously, I think we're gonna probably
I mean, that's
find that out.
goes
That's the
without
case.
saying. But all right, but Ed, I say this: gun to your head.
I know which one.
I put a gun to your head right now, and I say, which one would you watch right now if you had to choose one to save your life?
It's not because it's worse. I think it's just because I would get it over with faster. City of Angels.
Exact, but that's part of what makes it a better experience because it's over quicker.
But you're right. It is comparing like two piles of dog shit, and one is they're both different. One, they both smell. They're both really bad. Yeah, it's bad.
Terrible. And look. Don't forget, I didn't say one good thing about this movie this entire time. I'm just saying that when you compare this pile of shit to that pile of shit, this one is a bit smaller, and thus I have to smell it a bit less. And that's really what I'm arguing here.
All right. I'm going to leave it at push for now. And I want to see where these next two movies take us because we're getting into... Because the fourth one was definitely direct to video, but the cast in that movie, I don't know how that happened. There's recognizable actors in the fourth one.
Is that the one with that's not the one with Furlong, right? Oh, that is the one with Furlong.
Yeah, no, the next one is Kirsten Dunst. She's not the Crow. She's in the movie. But
okay. But this is post-interview with a vampire, Kirsten Dunst. This is just before Spider-Man, Kirsten Dunst, actually. Wow, was her career that bad at the time that she was doing like direct-to-Crow videos?
I gotta double check. I don't remember. I was trying to. All right, so The Crow Salvation was released in 2000, and it's an hour and 42 minutes. Okay, so. There's that.
So it may not be as good as this one.
It might not be, but I am trying to see if this was direct to video or not.
It had to be, right? I mean, after this one, who the fuck was going to see a Crow movie in the theater after this?
I don't see anything about box office and stuff, so I'm assuming that I'll look into it before we cover it, but. Oh, yeah, it is right here. Was direct to video on June 14th, 2000. But this has Fred Ward in it.
No shit.
And I'm going to be honest, that's probably about it. I don't really recognize
All right.
anyone else. So it is Wicked Prayer that somehow has... Oh, Wicked Prayer. Ready? David Boreanaz.
David,
Angel.
yes, that's what it was. David Boreanaz.
Boreanaz.
TV's Angel. I love that show. I loved him as an actor. I watched way more Bones than anyone should have because I love that man so much. So yes, that I'm excited for that one.
Tara Reid, Emmanuel, she's Lana Lane on Superman and Lois. Okay. Dennis Hopper, Danny Trejo.
This may be the best.
I mean, the cast is somehow, some way. This is probably the most noticeable cast out of all of them, which makes no sense.
When I say the best, I of course am excluding the original Crow, which was a real movie. This may be the best of like the Crow sequels.
And I mean, it has a 3 out of 10 on IMDb, so we'll see how that goes. Oh man!
But Dennis Hopper's there. Come on.
I get it, but man, I just don't know how they got all these people to do like a direct-to-video movie in 2005.
I don't know. I don't know. Gambling debts, like.
I don't know.
Well, Tara Reid, her career like started to plummet as soon as it went up, right?
Yeah, like right outside of American Pie, like nothing really. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Dennis Hopper.
What year was Dennis Hopper?
2005.
But Dennis Hopper might have had like gambling debts or like fucking tax debt. Like he might have owed the government or something. Dennis Hopper strikes me as the kind of guy who's like, when Dennis Hopper needs money, he rolls over and does something like Super Mario Brothers so we can get a paycheck.
That's true, actually. And Danny Trejo.
David Boreanaz is the one I'm curious about. What year was this made?
2005. So it was probably made in 2004. It released in 2005.
Okay, so this was between the end of Angel, his show, and the beginning of Bones. So okay, so I get that. Okay, and Danny Trejo, like I think Danny Trejo's just happy to be an actor, like because didn't he spend the beginning of his life like a criminal with like a like a shitty past, and like I think he's turned himself around. He's just happy to be fucking working and doing something and. Yeah, I mean, he could do whatever he wants.
Angie actually read his book, which was pretty fascinating about his life story. So if you get it, she did like an audio book of it.
I might do that.
She said it was pretty fucking fascinating. He has a really, really interesting life.
He strikes me as one, man, like because he like I mean I guess we're not going to go off on a whole Danny Trejo. No, we're going to save our Danny Trejo stuff until The Crow 4.
All right, so then I think that pretty much kind of wraps it up for us this evening. Thank you for joining us as always. If you liked what you heard tonight, check this out on Facebook. Check out Granny's PhD's Facebook group because that's where we share a bunch of trailers and stories that don't make the show. So check us out there. Check out Pop Culture Pros and popculturepros.com. And if you're on YouTube, subscribe to Pop Culture Pros, and wherever you found your audio-only podcast, subscribe to Pop Culture Pros. Jason and I will be back next week. As we had mentioned at the beginning of the show, we do have like a pretty packed show next week. We will be talking about the first 2 episodes of Agatha All Along, which drops tomorrow on Disney Plus. Tomorrow night, actually at 9 o'clock. So there's that. We also got The Penguin dropping 2 episodes the next day on Max. So there's that. And then we have a new movie to talk about, Transformers 1, that drops this weekend. So we got a lot of stuff. We'll be taking a quick time out from The Crow before we get to Crow Salvation because we got our stuff next week. I know, but we'll be right back with it to see this fascinating end to the journey, and we will rank our Crow movies when this thing is done. And I can already tell you, spoiler alert, The Crow is number 1 from 1994. Questions are, where do the next 4 fall in line? That's hard-hitting questions we always ask.
Because I'll be honest, I'm willing to say my top 5 Crow movies are The Crow with Brandon Lee, The Crow with Brandon Lee. I don't know if you saw this one, The Crow. It stars Brandon Lee. Because that could have been the only one. But you're right. Let's see. Will I put The Crow City of Angels as the second best Crow movie? A movie that I shit upon my entire adult life? It might happen. This is the crazy stuff that happens on Granny's.
And also, right, are we back this Sunday night? Okay, so Jason, PCP Deep Dive Sunday night?
Yep, we got PCP Deep Dive Sunday night. We're going to be doing Dream Warriors. Little Freddy Krueger. Thank you. I can't believe glad my throat didn't crack there. But yeah, a little Friday, little Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, which I think that's gonna be. I don't think that's gonna be fun. That's probably my favorite of those. I think it's it's everyone's favorite, right?
Universally, it's usually 1 or 3. So I mean, or it could be pushed there too. I mean, they're different, but it'll be interesting to break that one down.
So we'll be talking about that. Unfortunately, no underlying overt homosexual, things going on. But we actually have a movie that I would say this is the most important Freddy movie concerning lore. I think this sets up the most lore of the franchise. So you could join us on Sunday. We're going to really deep dive the lore and talk about the third one and the resurgence of Freddy after the failure of the second one.
So, all right, and we'll see you next week then. Peace.
Later.